This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode number 37, Jump the Shark.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 37, Jump the Shark. My name is Brett Summers and I'll be hosting this evening. And with me tonight are...
Damien Hicks.
Paul Hawkins.
Now, a little bit of peek behind the curtain here. We are battling the elements this evening. Coughs and colds have overrun the Cult Faction office and we are doing this one remotely again. But as dedicated as we are, we have clawed out of our beds and our sick beds to do this just for you guys, because our listeners are important to us. So just to start off with then, as I say, this episode will be looking at which TV shows have jumped the shark and when it happened and why it happened and what we think about that. But before that, we'll have a little roundtable chat about what we've been up to this week. I'm going to start with Mr. Hawkins. How are we this week?
Yeah, I'm all right. Apart from the fact that mine's gone completely blank about what I've been watching this week, like it's never happened. It's just, yeah. But other than that, I'm okay.
You're aware it's the 30th though, aren't you? You know, we haven't all secrets out, but you know, you haven't like lost a whole week and it's just come back.
Yeah.
Maybe this episode will be looked back on as the day we jumped the shark.
Ooh.
I think we jumped the shark many times.
We're so meta.
So yeah, not too bad. I mean, I guess I'm just trying to think of some highlights from film and TV. So Wheel of Time is continuing.
Are we liking it? Because the start when you were kind of on board, but you weren't convinced, if I remember rightly, from the last episode.
Yeah. So I think that episode 4 has kind of made me hopeful. It's continuing along with the mashup of the first 3 books. I think I complained first time around that there was a couple of additional characters or bits which I didn't see the point of. Still don't see the point of that, but they're gone now, so I've kind of moved on from that. There's a lot of action in it. Some decent fights with magic this time. I'm still not sold on the whole visual representation of the Aes Sedai showing the one power. It just looks a bit wishy-washy. But the rest of the special effects are quite good. So I am getting a bit more hopeful. They're still dragging out who the Dragon Reborn is for pretty much a reason I can't understand, because anyone who Googles it, one of the first things you see is blah blah blah, the Dragon Reborn. So I don't know why they're trying to make it such a big secret. But hey,
do you think that's going to be the season 1 finale? Oh my God, it's
but this is my point.
Dave the Wizard is the Dragon Reborn or whatever their names are.
Because as soon as you start looking at the Game of Thrones, whether it's the books, whatever, it says it from the get-go. I don't want to do it now, but I'm sure if you Google the books, the intro would be, and his name or her name, I don't want to give it away, the Dragon Reborn, blah, 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 comes back. So, but hey, they've decided that they're trying to make a big deal about it. So I'm just going with the flow. Quite positive this week. Some character development, as I said, but it wasn't as bad as some of the episodes of the Apple TV Foundation series or some season 2. Try to pad out with all the character development. As I said, there's a healthy blend of that and action as well. So yeah, a bit more positive this week.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, you're growing into it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else you been watching?
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing
Have you gone back?
necessarily.
Have you gone back to Foundation because
No,
you were
no.
very excited about that, and then you weren't as
That,
excited about it. Has it
so,
made the bin list already?
yeah, I it just didn't get on with it. It was like it was a substance. No, whatever the saying is, matter over substance or
Style over substance.
thanks. Yeah, I don't know. So I never went back to that. That really did verge too far away from the book, and as mentioned at the time, I think it was just trying to be some other show from the 90s, about more building up
Dawson's Creek.
civilizations. No, that would have been an improvement, but no, I haven't gone back to that. I probably should. One of the things I've been watching, and I'm not sure whether I started mentioning it last week. I don't think I did, but is Dead Pixels. I'm not sure if you guys have seen
Oh
it.
yes, I was the one telling you to watch it.
Okay. Well, all right. Take the
The
credit.
comedy series.
Yeah, that's
Just in
right.
case there's another one on Netflix and it's some South Korean deep drama that I'm not aware of. Yeah, what do you think?
No, I do like it. It's the other side of not making games, but the playing of the games. But it's interesting to see how it spans from their work life or lack of work life because they're busy playing this online RPG game, and some of the noobs that join that they all slate and try and get rid of.
But she likes him as well.
Or does she? Because we all know it's really the flatmate or housemate that she's kind of got a soft spot for.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I'm assuming after being a few episodes in.
Spoilers.
I don't know.
That was my favourite bit of episode 1, where the whole time they're online and then they both walk out to make a coffee and they're in the room next door to each other.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
But no, I was quite impressed with not just the level of humour. Now I can hear the bell, Damien. You can ring your bell. Yeah, but the level of humour, it's quite grown up as well, and I think it's written by a man, but actually it's really trying to get the woman's take on all of her situations. So she's not a pushover female character. She knows what she wants.
Have you seen? I can't remember which bit it is here, but have you seen the bit where she meets the other girl at the bus stop? And she's like a gamer girl, and she's just sort of
yes, I have. Yeah,
strips just like slags her off to pieces, and yeah, that made me laugh too.
Because she's a bit goth, but it's like I put in the hours. I wee in a bucket or whatever it is. Yeah. No, so that's what I'm impressed with. We had a trip down memory lane and dug out the yearly watching of Elf on Sunday. To get us into the Christmas spirit, because we have got the Christmas tree up and nothing that we don't know what happens or the storylines. Just a nice watching.
Has it stood up this year?
Well, I think so. I mean,
I just wonder that every year we go back, at some point there's going to be a bit where it's like we can't watch that anymore.
So Connor was into it and watched the whole thing, and he's 6 in a couple of days, so if it kept his attention, it's got to be doing something right.
That's good then, because it is still a good film. That was when Will Ferrell jumped the shark, wasn't it? I don't know, he's had a hit since then.
I am actually sat here in my elf suit that I bought at a auction the other day.
Because I thought you were about to say you sat in your underpants or something, so that's something of a relief.
You don't want to know where their lollies are.
Or candy canes.
Yeah, candy canes. And the Gumdrop Forest. Okay, so Elf as well, a bit of Dead Pixels. Anything else, sir?
I watched the film last night, but I can't remember what it was. It was obviously that enthralling.
Did it have Nicolas Cage?
No, I didn't. I haven't.
Did it have Ryan Reynolds in it?
No, I haven't had a Ryan Reynolds or a Cage watch this week. And that's probably why I still feel so empty and void. Because I haven't had Cage in my life.
Well, I'll spin the spotlight round on why you feel empty and voidy, and if you remember it, buzz in.
I will.
We'll spin the old spotlight round to
Spin the wheel.
Mr.
The wheel is forever turning.
Oh, it is. Like the days of our lives. Right, spin it around into Mr. Humbug Hicks. How we doing? What you been watching?
Well, I forgot we would do this.
So did I.
Whilst Paul's been talking, I've been sat here thinking, what did I watch? And to be honest, I don't think I've watched a lot. Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Started to watch whatever number was it, 13 of the reboot, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it 13? 13 or 14 anyway. The Flux.
What do you reckon?
For the viewers and listeners out there, Damien's just having a coughing fit.
It's all right, I can cut and come back in again. Don't worry, that'd be seamless. What do they think? What you said the other week, there's a lot of threads they're trying to weave to make a long story arc, which is obviously so much better than the previous season with the overzealous, preachy nonsense of the planet's dying and all men are bad, etc., etc. So it's definitely an improvement on the last couple of seasons, to be fair. But it would have been good at this point, 3 episodes in, to have at least some resolution to some of the stuff that's been put out there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Even if it's just one tiny little aspect of it.
Yeah, even an answer that led to more questions would have been nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's just question, and then some more questions.
That's life.
So, indeed.
But I agree with you, though.
That's all I've been watching.
I agree with you, though. I do think it has been a step up to what's been on before. Because I think Jodie
Definitely.
Whittaker hasn't done a bad job. I think the scripts have been what's let her down rather than her ability as a female doctor.
She's a really good doctor. It's quirky and the fast talking and the way she says I don't think she even says this, but it's like a kind of example, which is, I'm wrong, I'm never wrong, I'm right, no, I'm right, I'm definitely right. But she's talking to herself and does all that kind of quick fire conversation in her own head.
Pure Sylvester McCoy, eh?
Exactly. She's up there on that same level as the McCoy, because as you know, he's the best doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's known as the trade. I think it's known in the trade as the McCoy Plateau.
Yeah, it's where every future doctor aims to be. So yeah, there's that, and I think that is it. I haven't watched anything else. I've kind of just spent most of the last couple of days just staring at the wall, hoping that this cough and cold will disappear, and it isn't.
I know why my
so much honey and lemon you can drink.
I know why my TV viewing hasn't been great this week, because Friday night it was the Late Late Toy Show, which is an Irish program where they have the presenter of the normal Late Late Show who does like all the latest toys and all that, and that took up the whole of Friday night. Saturday night was around Damien's with you, and that just left Sunday, which was pretty much Elf.
Was there anything cool in the toy market that would fit our remit? Any new Transformers or something? Something new that we don't even know about that the kids will dig?
No, it didn't really go into any cool stuff that I thought was cool anyway. It was more the younger
Was it
children
an improvement
stuff.
on last year's?
No, I enjoyed last year, but that may have been because of
So did I, but it was a bit of a car crash TV show, wasn't it? Because of lockdowns and COVID and everything.
Production-wise, it was, but yeah, they had some really annoying kids on there that you just it was almost like the producers set him up to attack the host or just not listen to the host, and you just kind of thought that guy's got the patience of the saint. If that was me,
he did a really good job, to be fair.
Yeah. So
where can one watch this toy show?
It's on RTE Player.
Okay,
which I'm not entirely sure is available in.
No, it is. It is. They made it free. Yeah.
Right, 'cause it wasn't last year. I had to use VPN to watch it last year.
Yeah, but it is this year, and you can watch it on catch up on RTE Player as well.
Oh, there you go, people. If you like your toys, get ready for Christmas. Get onto the RTE Player and watch. What was it called again? The
Late Late Toy Show.
The Late Late Toy Show, which isn't the program I thought it was going to be. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, careful on the Google searches results.
Yeah. But Okay, then. So was that all your stuff then, Damien? I was switching to mine now. Is that okay?
It was. If anything comes up, I'll do what you normally
Remember.
do and just interject.
Yeah, yeah,
but I don't
just
think there is.
butt in. Paul, have you remembered your film yet?
No, I was going to wait for you to start speaking and
Okay.
then interrupt
Then
mid-sentence.
Fair enough. It's a trend that I started well. Okay then. Right. First thing, I've been quite busy. I've actually watched quite a bit this week. I didn't go out much because it was a bit cold and rainy. So, I have now watched the season 2 of Masters of the Universe Revelation, and it was really good. I think all the people moaning about season 1, it being all a bit social justice and putting females in power and all that rubbish. You need to watch the whole series because, you get, as we predicted, you get spoiler bell. Does anyone mind spoilers?
Well, yeah, because I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Well, put it this way, most of the things we thought about Tila happen. Believe it or not, He-Man's not dead, whereas everyone was moaning that he was killed at the end of the other one, but he's not. Shock that they didn't kill off He-Man of all the
What
characters.
surprise.
But yeah, and it tells a story, and what I liked about it was it's based off the original cartoons. Obviously, Kevin Smith carried it on, and it does move on. And actually, a lot of the characters have progression, which may put people off because we all know like the classic He-Man just sort of reset after every episode, and it could go again. But this time, things do move on, and there is a nice little tidbit at the end that gives a big clue to what might happen if they do another series.
Cool.
There's a nice bomb dropped at the end, shall we say? But yeah, really good. Some nice characters. Do pay special attention to Fisto when he appears. Fisto gets the line of the entire series. I'll leave that to you.
Does he only appear after 9 p.m.?
No, he doesn't, unfortunately. But he does get the line of the series, and I'll leave that for you guys to find in there. But there are already many memes of it doing the rounds on the internet already, with screen captures with the subtitles on. Okay. But it is very good, and again, lots of characters. Ram Man even turns up at one point. I hadn't seen him in it for ages. And a lot of characters are in the background fighting and stuff. So they definitely, again, they've done their homework. They know. Well, we know what Kevin Smith's like. He's a glorified chowderhead anyway. He knows the detail on these things. Yeah, it needs to be watched. But it's a really good series. And again, as I said before, the characters progress, the storyline moves on, and I'll be very interested to see where it starts from next time now, and where they go with the bomb that they drop right at the end, so to speak. The metaphorical storyline bomb, not an actual bomb. Eternia is fine. But yeah, really good. I recommend it. Go and watch it. You'll enjoy it. I also went and watched the first episode of Cowboy BeBop, which Damien reported on last week, so I won't go too much into it, but really liked it. Definitely got its own style. Got a bit of suave to it. There is a review on cultfaction.com, as there is for all the episodes of Masters of the Universe Revelation, if you want to go and check those out. But yeah, really good. Really enjoyed it. I shall be watching the rest of those. I also watched the first episode of Hellbound, which you reported on last week, Paul.
Oh, that's the other thing I've been continuing to watch. Thanks for reminding me.
And there we go. But I liked the first episode. I thought it kind of started well and maybe lost itself a little bit as it went on, because it kind of went from cool supernatural shizzle to sort of detective procedural and lots of talking for ages. Then you got another cool bit of supernatural shizzle and then it died off. But again, there's a review.
So yeah, as I mentioned, I think with this one, it's trying to build up that whole political bit as well, and the introduction of the police.
I did like the what was it called? The New
World Order.
Oh, what were they called? It was the New Truth Society. That was it. And all that, and that the crazy dude in the videos and all that. But it is directed by Young Sang-ho from Train to Busan and that. So I've got faith in this doing well. What was you going to say?
What did you think of the CGI of the demons then? Did you agree with me that they looked like bad gorillas?
Yeah, I mean, they're a bit smoky, they look weird, but that's what I kind of expect with a lot of stuff from like that, because
I just think it was a shame because the rest of, I mean, the gore and the fights and the blood splattering out and people getting killed is quite cool with effects, but they're being beaten to death by some weird looking gorillas.
They look like they're on like smouldering, smoking gorillas type thing. Yeah, no, you're right, and I'm sure there is a TV show or a film where people when they admitted something, like the demons came in and dragged them off to hell, but like there was a demon he was hiding, and he couldn't get.
You're thinking of Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Do you know what? I might even be.
No, you're not.
That might be what.
There was a TV show like that, but I can't. No.
But that's what it keeps reminding me of, but I can't think what it is.
If anyone knows,
tell
us.
I remember at the end, like the baddie had been hiding, and then at the end he admits it, and then because he admits it, they come out and drag him off, and that was it. He was done then. But yeah, it's bugging the hell out of me. But I will find it at some point. And I've also been watching. I've watched the first 2 episodes of the new Hawkeye TV series.
Oh, is that any good?
At the moment, I am really, really, really enjoying it. I think it's one that even Damien might like.
Those are big words.
I know, because it is very much in the vein of I would say it's got that sort of little bit of Die Hard flavour, and it also
But is that because it's an action film at Christmas?
Well, it's very much all he wants to do is spend Christmas with his family, and all this stuff's just got in the way. And it's that kind of vibe, and he almost plays it. Jeremy Renner plays a very good, for anyone who's read the comics, very good sort of Hawkeye, where he's kind of a bit down on it and a bit like, oh god, now I've got to sort this out and stuff. And it's also a little bit, I pick up a little bit of sort of Sergeant Murtaugh, Danny Glover from the Lethal Weapons, of the sort of I'm getting too old for this shit kind of thing, and it's like better do it again. Then oh god, now I've got to do this, and it kind of plays well. And Hayley Atwell is not Hayley Atwell. What's her name?
One from Bumblebee.
Hayley Atwell is Captain Carter.
The one from Bumblebee, you mean?
Yes, it is. Is it Steinfeld?
Seinfeld.
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld. Yeah, plays Kate Bishop, and she is basically, her story is she lives in a big swish New York apartment, and in 2012, in the original Avengers film, when they have the battle, her apartment gets smashed to bits, and her dad dies, and one of the aliens, the Chitauri, is heading towards her, and he gets taken out like by an arrow and that, and then she looks up and sees Hawkeye like carrying on in the battle. He doesn't even realize he saved her. He's just shooting arrows and all that. And then he becomes like her favorite Avenger, and then she learns the bow and arrow and all that. So she's sort of a little bit of a sort of fangirl stalker kind of thing, but she gets really good at bow and arrow. She's like the rich kid at the private school, and she kind of gets sent home for Christmas for that. So there's a whole thing going on with her, and Simon Callow turns up. He does very well as Amanda Kane III. And again, there's a few other people in it. And then through, I'm trying not to give much away, but through various events, they end up crossing paths. And Hawkeye has to sort of kind of try and sort of help her, but at the same time,
doesn't she become his sidekick?
Yeah, but at the same time, she can help herself, but and sometimes she more than helps herself, which then ends up getting him into more trouble because she thinks she knows what she's doing, and he'll say like stay here and go and do something, and she's like, oh no, he's in trouble, I better do this, and obviously she makes it worse.
And is this kind of setting her up to have her own series? Is that where we think
I think it's setting her up to at least establish herself in like the Avengers can. I still think they're heading towards a young Avengers.
Yeah.
If you look at all the different Marvel shows, I mean, so if you think about it, like WandaVision, you've got her kids, you've got
Iron Man,
the girl from Captain Marvel, Iron Man's got a daughter, and also that lad as well who was at his funeral. No, the one he helped in Iron Man 2.
Spider-Man.
You know, Spider-Man. Spider-Man. You could have.
I'm joking.
We could have Miles Morales if they introduce him in the new film. Because I think that's the trick they might be keeping on. Because everyone keeps going on about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but like, you know, it's a multiverse. Miles Morales could drop through.
That's what I said last week.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's It's all to play for. But I'm just trying to think of some of the other films. But a lot of the films have got like a younger character now, which I guess can be pushed in. So I think maybe we're getting that way. I'm also trying to keep my eyes out for people who might not be who they appear to be, because with Secret Invasion coming up, I think
Transformers,
like
an Avengers Transformers crossover.
Oh God, no! The comics
Well,
bad enough.
Well, I guess he was in Bumblebee, so anything's possible.
True, she might know him. But yeah, so I think there's a lot there to do. But it is a fun series.
And what's the deal with that? Is it all available to stream now? Is it one a week?
No, the first 2 episodes are up, and now it's 1 a week. But I think it's only going to be 6 episodes. So they're not.
Yeah, no, it is.
They're not panning it out. There's a nice bit as well where Hawkeye has to go and without giving too much away, something that he needs to get hold of has been taken by one of the firemen who was at the scene, and the fireman's a LARPer, so he has to go and like infiltrate some live action role play to get his stuff back. And it's like that's quite funny. They're like, here's how you hold a sword, and he's like, yeah, okay. And he's just sort of walking through it, not giving a shit, because he can probably take them all out anyway. It's just quite a fun way of doing it. But yeah, I think it's supposed to be about 6 episodes. Just double checking.
Yeah, it is.
That'll finish just for Christmas, and it's worth a watch. Kids can watch it as well. It's not too. There is a bit of violence in it, but it's nothing that you haven't seen in the films already. You know, it doesn't go too dark or too violent or too over the top that people might be squeamish and cry.
Well, it's not a Snyder film.
Yeah, it's not in grey and black and white. And the last thing I watched, because I saw it on the box, I thought I'm going to give this a watch. I haven't watched it for ages. The Golden Child, Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I watched that again 3-4 years ago, and the special effects just put me off.
Well, it's very
Why?
Harryhausen.
Why?
You know.
It was made then. Why?
I know.
That gets on my nerves.
I know, and it got on my nerves, but I just couldn't get past it.
But you know, well,
Philistine, that's what you are.
I loved this film when it came
out. So did I.
But what shocked me about it was how much dialogue there isn't in this film.
Well, most of it's Eddie Murphy doing his funny laugh.
No, there's not even that. I mean,
there is a little bit.
In the first 10 minutes, when Charles Dance, was it Numspa, captures the Golden Child.
Numsky.
Basically, yeah, brother Numsky. But it's Sado Numspa. It's basically them catching him, climbing the mountain, catching to like some cheesy guitar music, and no one even speaks in like the first 10 minutes of the film. And then you get a bit of Eddie Murphy. Then you get Eddie Murphy driving around to another song, and it's just like it's almost like a series of
It was the 80s, man.
interactive music.
Yeah,
but not
driving.
badly.
Lots of cool tunes on the radio.
Commando was pretty much like that.
Yeah, but it's just but they're just it's like music.
Yeah,
now
because it was the 80s. What's wrong with you?
No, not this badly. Well, I read up on it afterwards because I was like, it just felt a bit weird to me, and it turned out. Now, what it was, they done the film seriously. Apparently, like it was done as a serious film, and then they showed it to like the test audiences, and the Paramount did, and then people freaked out. So then they went back and recut it and re-edited it, and basically turned it to Beverly Hills Cop in Tibet.
Yeah.
And put all the jokes in and all that. So I think there's a lot of, and then I think they just pasted it together with long musical interludes of what they got. But I don't remember that as a kid. But when you watch it back now, you're just like, that's 10 minutes. No one's even spoke yet, and they're still driving along. It's like, but I looked out. Charles Dance loved the film and said it was fun to do, and he liked working with Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy described the film as a piece of shit that made him a lot of money because he wasn't happy either.
Yeah, you can see him saying that.
But he wasn't happy either because I think for him this was going to be
it was his step into action films, like
well, I think this was going to be a bit more.
Films,
this was going to be like his serious, moody.
Yeah.
He was the social worker tracking down lost kids, hooked into this, and it just turned into him dropping one-liners every 5 seconds when there is dialogue.
And then a silly little laugh.
Yeah, just like that. Loads of people in
like
it
a witch.
Yeah, but loads of people in it from Big Trouble in Little China, which apparently also John Carpenter turned down this film to make that film.
Good. History thanks him.
Yeah, we definitely do. We could have not had Jack Burton, and apparently before Eddie Murphy, when it was still a serious film, Mel Gibson was in consideration for the lead role.
Cool.
Which would have been interesting, but yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it, but it's almost like, I think it might be a media student's dream to sort of go and analyse that film, because you can sort of see changes in tone and where things may have been pasted a bit together and stuff like that, which as a child in 1986 I didn't give a care about. I wanted Eddie Murphy to make me laugh and save the bold little kid. So yeah, it holds up well, but in its own way. I think if someone new watching it now, I don't think it would get much of a reaction like if I showed it to kids today, because even Paul's put off by the special effects now, and I think it's just a bit too jumpy for most people to maybe even follow now. But I enjoyed it. It took me back. Okay then, so that's anyone else got anything else they remember that they've seen, watched, enjoyed?
No.
Okay then, so that's our main bit of our discussion done. We will move across to the round table, where we will begin our discussion on Jumping the Shark. Okay, we are now round the round table, which is our discussion table in Cult Faction HQ. And as I said, tonight we are talking about Jumping the Shark, which came from the 1977 episode of Happy Days, Season 5, Episode 3, in which Fonzie, Henry Winkler, jumps over a shark on water skis. Many have said that this was the decline of the show in its creativity, although to be fair, it was still a #1 show for a few years after that. But many trace the show's decline back to this episode, where all reason and mythology that they'd established was thrown out the window in regard to just sort of getting ratings and telling stories. So the phrase "jumping the shark" has since then been used to identify different shows, pinpointing the exact moment that it stopped being a great show and started to decline into the land of the terrible. So first up to offer us a show that he feels jumped the shark and when, Mr. Damien Hicks, what do you bring to the table?
The first one I want to bring to the table, and it actually does, it kind of pains me to even raise it, because they did bring it back round immediately after this particular season. But, and I'm not gonna say what it is just yet. I'm gonna see if any of you kick in.
Is it Red Dwarf?
Start talking about it. No, it's not. Although
is the bad season you speak of season 3?
It is season 3, yeah. So it's season 3, and the IRA are involved, and the show's cast, or some of the show's cast, end up in Northern Ireland. Any takers?
Oh no, it's not the show I thought of, and I like that season.
No, so it's Sons of Anarchy. So
I liked the bit when they went to Ireland.
It was in Northern Ireland, and no, it was awful. I'll tell you, I'll give you just some list of some things of why it's so awful. They never actually went there. So,
well, yeah, I guess that.
I know they did films. No, to be fair, they did film scenes in Northern Ireland using extras and
like body doubles.
What you could say were doubles, yeah, for some long shots and stuff like that. But the clubhouse is the California clubhouse with a couple of shamrocks, neon shamrocks shoved above the bar. You might sort of put an Irish fiddler in the corner to give it a little bit more authenticity. Every car radio is listening to BBC World Service, which I'm pretty sure we don't even get over here. It does exist, but it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a world service, so it's broadcast to the world. If you're overseas and you want to listen to something from the BBC, it was just awful, and it just meandered and just went on for too long. But as I say, they brought it back.
John Cosmo was brilliant though. He was the one that played.
This is this thing. This is why it kind of pains me to put it in, because technically there's nothing wrong with it, but it was just so poorly imagined for someone on this side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, no, I'll give you.
kind
It's the American version. It's the same as I put it in the same category as all the American people who say they're Irish but have never been to Ireland and probably never have been either,
Yeah.
but or ever will. But you know, like, yeah. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. But it was good. I liked it. It was great to see other clubhouses, other clubs.
But it wasn't another clubhouse. Like I said, I'd swear blind. If you went and look back on it now, it's the same set. They've just removed a few things, and like I say, I'm sure I remember seeing like a neon shamrock above the bar, and on draft was Guinness.
I do need to revisit that. It was a great, but
I
it
think
was a great storyline.
Was it though? Was it really?
Are you saying that the RA wouldn't really kidnap a biker from California's son and transport him all the way to Ireland just to make a point?
I might be saying that, yeah.
All right, okay, but
I just say they did bring it back round. I think if I was
yeah.
to watch Sons of Anarchy again from the start, I might fast forward those episodes.
Well, I like.
And also bear in mind that, like, the amount of guns they were shipping for the IRA, the IRA would never have had that amount of guns.
Most armies
even
don't
back
have
in
that
the stories. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and obviously there's the obligatory corrupt priest in there as well, which
John
Cosmo. It was, yeah. I'm not going to go on because I don't really want to be slagging off Sons of Anarchy because it's one of the best series ever made. But
and they'll come and find you if you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kurt Sutter will be out for my blood. Actually, I think he will. He's joined Netflix now, I think, so he might have mellowed a bit.
I don't think that man's been mellow ever. In a good way. I like him. I'm a fan. It was Damien that said it, Kurt. I've seen what goes on in that man's mind.
Before this cold kills him.
Yeah. Okay, then. So that's our first one. Spinning the spotlight round to Mr. Hawkins. What do you bring to the table?
Okay, so I'm going to take your Sons of Anarchy and I'm going to raise it. We're probably one of the biggest jumping of sharks that there's ever been. And this, my friends, is Dallas. So we all know it, you know.
That might even be
to be fair. Sorry, I'm surprised that hasn't overtaken the term. Instead of it being jumping the shark, you're surprised it's not.
Washing a Duffy.
Yeah, washing a Duffy.
yeah. So basically, Patrick Duffy played Bobby Ewing. He wanted to leave the show to pursue greater Hollywood things in the acting world. So they wrote out him out of the series with his death.
Like Step by Step.
That's right. So they built up 31 or whatever it was episodes to find out who killed Bobby Ewing, and turns out that the writers got a backlash for getting rid of Bobby. So what do they do? Well, they decide to bring him back and make it all the events of a dream, which not only annoyed the viewers, but just made no sense whatsoever.
Well, they basically wrote off a whole season, didn't they? It was just
yeah. And because Patrick Duffy couldn't get a career elsewhere, he was more than happy to come back. But again, after that point, he was like, "What the WTF is going on?" And I don't think that really picked up where it left off, but before getting rid of Bobby in the first place. So for that reason, Dallas jumped the shark big time, or washed a Bobby.
No,
I like that. Wash the Duffy's good.
Totally agree with that. And he parodied it on Family. He parodied it on Family Guy as well, where something bad happened on Family Guy, and then it fades to black, and then he comes out the shower, and they got I forgot the woman who played his wife, but she's in the bed as well. And he goes, "What you doing?" He comes out the shower and she goes, "Watching Family Guy," and he just sits up in the bed and goes, "What the fuck's Family Guy?" And then it fades to black. So they even got them back on Family Guy just to reenact it again. So it's definitely become a cultural moment. But yeah, Dallas was never the same, apparently. But yeah, that was a really good one, Paul. That kind of mine's not that good now.
I'm sure there'll be other highlights. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was going to bring to the table Heroes.
Oh no, yeah, that was on my list.
An amazing first season.
First season and a few episodes.
Yeah,
the first couple of the two were
season
all right as well.
Season 2 wasn't too bad, and then just towards the end of season 2, it was kind of like whoever's homework they were copying had run out, and then it just sort of slowly. Both season 3 and 4. I mean, I have season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. I don't have seasons 3 and 4. There's a hint, and I'm a completist. By all accounts, in the original ideas, Silo was supposed to die at the end of the first season when he escapes, but they did create a super mega villain there that became popular in his own right. So I can see why they might have wanted to change that. But I think it was another example, one of those shows that was a complete story, but then became a massive worldwide hit, and then just got pounded out into obliteration of, we must keep this going. He's not going to die at the end now. Keep him alive. And then it just got stretched and stretched and stretched into the fact that it was so thin that everyone could see through it. You know what I mean? And it just sort of.
So when did Peter Petrelli get shot? Because that was for me when it just went stupid.
That was towards the end of. That was at the end of season 2, and then he lost his memory, and then. Yeah, because the brother died, and then he got shot, and then didn't he come back from the future as well? And there was a future.
I don't know. All I can remember is like the first couple of episodes of season 2 carried it on.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
And then by the end, because I think the other one was, it was the Peter Petrelli. No, because which one was Peter? Was that the younger brother or the one who was the senator?
It was the younger brother.
Yeah, because then there was because then the one that shot him, I think, was himself from the future. He had a scar on his face, and he'd sort of done it. He got done a Siler and started getting everyone else's powers because he could time travel and that. And then you had Hiro, the Japanese dude, sort of going on his own adventures, going back in time and coming forward again, and he became a samurai and all sorts of. Well, there was some cool stuff going on, but then
see, this is it. I don't remember any of that because either I stopped watching it after that point, or it was so bad. I've just managed to raise it from
most of season 2 held up, but then it got to that point again.
I'm going to argue that point. If Peter Petrelli was shot in the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 2, then I'm going to say it's when he was shot was when it died.
Okay, but I would say season 2 was okay, but what it was season 2 carried on the threads of season 1, but no one wanted to end it. So when it got towards the end of season 2, it was still.
Peter Petrelli got out the shower,
went to Ireland, and
got on a plane to Northern Ireland.
Yeah, but it was more it was one of those things of they were doing a lot what the comic books do, where they try and present the illusion of change and to keep things going. But for a TV series, you definitely need storylines to end and people to move on and things like that, and then. By the time we get
to The Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, that's another one on my list. But by the time we got to season 3, Siler ends up being the hero at one point.
Yeah.
Because he was like became like the cult popular character. They were like, well, we'll just turn him good then. And it's like, well, that's not why everyone liked him. And then it all became about his childhood and all that, and why he ended up being bad. And his dad was a watchmaker, and I don't know, it just all went on and on. But it was just the fact that I think it was just down to bad writing, and people just by all means carry a show on.
Around the time of the strike.
Actually, there was a strike around then. I think that was between 3 and 4, because Lost suffered on that. So a lot of the shows got stopped then. But but it was, I don't know, it just became a mishmash of trying to prolong things when they should have wrapped things up and progressed let characters move on and develop a bit, because it wasn't a show that was, main characters got bumped off. They weren't shy about things like that. So I think they were scared of losing Hayden, whatever, the cheerleader.
Panna chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pan of chocolate. Yeah, and it was things because she'd sort of just started taking off in her own right, and then I don't know, it just became like a big blob of that grew out of control, and no one could sort of channel it in the right way, and that was it really. But I might go back and watch it again because, let's say, season 1 is one of the best first seasons of any TV show ever. And season 2 kind of carries that on. It wasn't as good as season 1, but it was all right. And then by the end of that, everyone's just trying to milk the cow as much as they can. Okay, spinning it back round in. Damien, what you got next for us?
So next up on my list, I'm going to go for something we've already mentioned. So sorry, Paul, but I haven't got very much on my list as it is. So I've got to take the opportunity while I can, and that's Red Dwarf.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for Dallas. It's like we literally just covered that.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm going to talk about Dallas, but I'm going to make it a better conversation.
and just cut me out.
Yeah. No, so Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
And it's pinpointed to season 7. So season 6 was just, the original gang up out in space. I think the Red Dwarf has been lost and they're in pursuit of it. And then they meet their older selves, and there's a little cliffhanger. And
is that the one where it blows up
down
at the end? And you don't know which one blows up.
That's right, yeah. So he runs down the corridor and shoots his bazookoid, and we're left hanging. Don't know what happened. I don't know how long the gap was between 6 and 7, but it's a good couple of years. And it starts off. Chris Barry is only going to be appearing in something like 4 or 5 episodes. They bring Kachansky back. Rob Grant, I think is it Rob Grant? Yes, Rob Grant is now no longer involved in the show. They've had to make more episodes to meet American syndicate options or something or another, whatever that means. I guess it means they can get syndicated in the States if they make more episodes than the standard 6. You've lost the kind of odd couple element of this classic sitcom is, people being thrown in a situation they don't get on and they've got nothing in common, etc., etc. That's all gone, and it's just not as funny. Simple as that. And there's a slight argument that you could say the later ones on Dave, the more recent ones, I should say. So the last season has obviously kind of brought some of that back. Because Kachansky's gone, Chris Barry's back in it full time because he didn't go to Hollywood like he was hoping to, maybe. And it is a bit better. But for about 2 seasons after that, it was shockingly bad. Then they did that weird reboot on Dave that was a kind of rip-off of Blade Runner and various other things, and they end up in Coronation Street, of all places. So that was all a bit shit. But again, like I say, brought it back around a little bit. It's more amusing than it once was, but it's never going to be back in the glory days.
The last one I watched was the one with all the cat people, and Cat was their god, or it was like the descendants of his children, or whatever it was. And that was. I think that was the last 3 part. I think that was the last one they done. It was like the 3-parter. That's a few years back now, but I enjoyed that one. I think it was in the lockdown. I finally went back when the lockdown first kicked in. As I had the time, I just went back and redone Red Dwarf from the last couple of seasons through to that, because I think I'd stopped it at about, I don't know. I remember the new Kachansky coming in, and then I think I stopped watching it. Then I went back and just went through them all. Then, and the Dave stuff was a bit. Like when they meet Craig Charles on Coronation Street and all that. And it was a bit, I think they were trying to be meta.
Again, it's one of those things, there's some nice ideas in that, but it just wasn't executed very well. You can't help thinking not having Rob Grant in there anymore his kind of, it's lost something of its personality.
Yep.
They threw away my beef with it was they'd thrown away all the continuity they built up, whereas before there was a lot of stuff that actually
I don't know. I mean, they were never
paid
that
off
concerned.
years down
No,
No, I mean
I
just
don't
like
think
the little
because
things in their stories. Like there were little things like where like they might have seen themselves in the future, and then a season later would be the one where they did that and things like that. You know, like where they. No, not say continuity, but the storyline threads at least like paid later on when they did something. That would have been the one where they saw themselves then, or whatever. You know, the little sort
well,
of
yeah,
time
but
travel idiosyncrasies.
like I say, they've never been that bothered about that because back in season 1 or 2, when they go off planet, Rimmer can get drunk through holographic alcohol. By season 3, he can't eat. You know, he can't eat or taste or do
They
anything. It's
forgot.
not until he gets a hard light drive. Yeah, so I don't think they've ever been that concerned about that. I think the whole
When it
basis
fit
of one of
their
those episodes is, yeah, exactly. When it fits the storyline, they'll stick
story.
something
Yeah.
in. But
Oh, fair enough.
I'm trying to think of what that episode was. Thanks for the memory. I think it was when they erased their memory of 4 days, so they all get blind, stinking drunk, and then something happens. I can't remember what it is. So they decide to erase their memory, and then they have to go back and try and work out what happened because one's got a broken leg, one's missing a tooth or something like that. I can't remember. It's a long time, but I don't think they've ever been that concerned about.
Do they wake up in Mike Tyson's apartment in Las Vegas with a tiger?
Yeah, one's got a
It
tattoo
sounds
on
a
his
lot
face.
like a little Japanese man shouting at him. Yeah, it sounds a bit like. Now, for me, it peaked at season 3. Red Dwarf. I think that was when all the elements were. That was like the polymorph backwards. The one when Rimmer and Lister get abandoned in the spaceship.
Marooned, yeah.
Yeah, marooned with
Yeah.
the guitar made of camphor wood.
Yeah,
Whatever it was, must have been worth a fortune. He realised it's his
Yeah.
mahogany thing, and that was cool. But yeah, they're still trying, and there'll be more Red Dwarfs. I think there's 2 more to come yet, isn't there? I'm sure that
Yeah,
was
I think
announced a
so.
while back. Okay, then. So we've had Red Dwarf now, Mr. Hawkins.
Okay, so some of mine are just where like the main characters either left of their own devices, or I try to pursue careers, or in the next case where they had no choice but to get rid of the lead character. And this one was a series I actually really enjoyed, and this was House of Cards. So this is with Kevin Spacey, who plays Underwood. So he's trying to become president. He's senior cabinet official or whatever it is over there, Speaker of the House. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long, but he basically wants to be president. So this is all the underhand dealings that he does, all the power games that he plays, just to try and get him in the overall office. And then lo and behold, something comes to light, and allegations come to light, which we don't need to go into. Don't know whether they've actually been proven, misproven, or taken any further. But the producers basically had to get rid of him. So in the final series, they'd already started filming. He's already become president, but obviously that they've got the rest of the series to pad out. So he dies of a heart attack, I think, and his wife, Robin Wright, basically surpasses him somehow as president of the United States. And she tries to pick up on his mannerisms and all the talking to camera that Kevin Spacey did really well. But it just loses all credibility, and it was a rush job that they had to rewrite it all. But say what you want about Kevin Spacey or all the allegations, but he's a bloody good actor, and he was perfect for this role. In my mind, I loved it. But yeah, Robin Wright, unfortunately, and the script writers just couldn't save that show. But as I said, that last series was a complete car crash from start to, well, no, the start was good, but the finish certainly was a complete mess. So that's House of Cards.
So they actually, I didn't realise they'd killed him off. As I thought, I wasn't sure what had happened. So
yeah, I think he died of a heart attack in the end.
Do you actually see the heart attack, or is it one of those like, oh my god, he's dead?
No, they managed to pull it out of the bag and even get him to do some, final voiceovers and stuff.
So they sacked him and then still got him to do that.
Well, they must have had, look, Kevin, all these allegations, we can't keep you on. However, to save the show and all the crew and cast and all that kind of stuff and their roles. They
probably would have done.
Must have made some deal.
Do you reckon it was like, right, you're going to have a heart attack and then you're going to come back in the next episode? And he's like, cool, that sounds dramatic. And then Okay. My next one then, I'm going back in time a bit for historical reasons. I'm going to go back to the Brady Bunch, the original series that originally aired from 1969 to 1974. And my main reason for doing so is because it introduced a concept as well, a bit like Jumping the Shark, that became a big thing on TV shows and may even come up in some of the things that we talk about tonight. Well, in the fifth and final season, ratings were sort of plummeting on the Brady Bunch. The world had moved on a bit and the Brady Bunch hadn't. So in their idea to save the show, they introduced Cousin Oliver, who was a kind of sort of, glasses wearing, little blonde, sort of Milky Bar Kid kind of character. And he would always do things wrong and have little mishaps and all that. And they were hoping that by introducing this Cousin Oliver, and it was the hope of saving the show, but instead it made it tank even quicker. And it's now resulted in what is known as Cousin Oliver syndrome, which is where a show that may be on the downhill slide will introduce a new character to try and reboot it and give it a fresh take and try and make it cool and stuff. So we do owe the Brady Bunch that. Which
I must admit, I never watched the Brady Bunch that I remember. I think somehow I was lucky enough for it all to pass me by.
It was one of the big shows on when Sky Channel was a big thing on the old Rediffusion cable dial. Right. It was the Brady Bunch, and then you had Green Acres, and then the I Love Lucy show later on. But as a young child, I didn't realise they were all reruns and things like that. But the Cosby Show done that for years. Every time the cute little girl grew up, they needed a reason to bring another one in. So it was always like the oldest one's daughter or something like that, just to keep that sort of vibe alive. Yeah. So
just to keep the stock filled up.
Yeah.
The stock renewed.
So that's something. Yeah. So Cousin Oliver said, so we've learned two things tonight. We've got Jumping the Shark. And in an attempt to save from Jumping the Shark, they introduced Cousin Oliver, and it went worse, and we got Cousin Oliver syndrome, which now means any character introduced. So yeah, a little bit of TV education tonight. Back to you, Damien.
So I'm going to go next up on my list is The Big Bang Theory. I'm not entirely sure when it happened. It was a long time ago. It basically turned into the Sheldon Show.
Yeah.
Where pretty much every episode was just the quirkiness of Sheldon. That's my spot. Knock on the door, the penny, and it was that every episode. It became, the Sheldon Show. I think I've seen episodes since. I know that was the point where I actually stopped watching it. Kind of, not that I ever watched it religiously, but I would watch. We would record a couple of episodes, of course, over the course of a couple of weeks, and then we'd sit down and watch them. But there was a point where it's like, I can't be doing with this anymore. It's no longer about them sharing the apartment and the neighbour next door and the quirky friends. It's just Sheldon and his quirky friends. Can't be doing with it. As I say, I've seen episodes since then, and it obviously looked like they brought it back round again. But by that point, I'd lost interest.
Yeah, for me, I'd agree with you on that. I mean, I did watch it today, and that was another one that I'd kind of lost touch with. But that was something else during the lockdown the first lockdown, I went back and just made sure I saw it through to the end, just to, put enough years into it over the time. And I mean, it does end well. But for me, there was a point somewhere sort of near I don't know when, but about halfway through maybe the series, it kind of switched to we were laughing at them, not with them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So-
So it was like, oh look, they're the comic book nerds, or they're doing that, or look, they're doing that. This is what normal people do, and it kind of almost went not in a bullying way. Don't get me wrong, but there was kind of the humor went from them being like super intelligent and being different to us in that way to kind of like, oh look, they're going to a comic con, look, they're all dressed up, look how stupid that is, and then the car would break down, and then they had to walk miles dressed as Star Trek or it was, and people laughing at it. I don't know, and it just kind of became, I don't know, that was for me when it sort of jumped the shark a bit, because it was kind of like at some point it was a bit funny, and you're like, well, actually we're laughing at them now, we're not actually, and I don't know, that's what American Idol's for and the X Factor and things like that. You know, that's when we laugh at people, not in a sitcom.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember there was an episode I remember where Penny has a new boyfriend, and I think she invites them all round to watch. I think
American football.
American football. I can't remember if it was hockey now or American football. And
Football.
obviously, what's his name's trying to join in, and yeah, you're right. It's actually laughing at the fact that he knows nothing about American football or any of the terms or anything like that. So yeah, that's a good point. There's that to it as well.
But yeah, Big Bang Theory, good entry, I feel. And
yeah, I mean, I've watched episodes since, and I think for me now it's one of those things where, I mean, it's pretty much on E4 any time of the day.
Yeah.
And if you flick over, I might actually probably would sit there and watch it and chuckle. But there was a point where it's like, no, this is no longer must watch show for me, and that was, I mean, I am talking 10 years ago probably.
Yeah, you do realize my sister thought you were Leonard.
Yeah, dudes, I'll take that.
Yeah,
To be fair,
I laughed at that too, and then I realised what that meant.
Yeah.
To be fair to the show though, I remember the finale, and I think they did a good job of actually ending it.
See, I don't think I've seen
way.
it.
Yeah, it
I'm
was a
pretty
good
certain
ending.
I haven't.
I won't ruin it. It is a nice ending. Yeah, because I was like, yeah, Damien's Leonard. And then she carried on looking at me, and then I was like, wait a minute. And she goes, yeah, you're. So that meant I was Sheldon. She said it was easy to work out which one Lee was, and Paul, you were the other one. You were
Space nerd.
Yeah. Hoffladder.
I think we all know that who would really be the Sheldon out of the two of us, Brett.
I'll take it because they haven't got married. I know with Blossom, but I'm sure she's really nice. But yeah, good entry, Mr. Hawkins.
Okay, so we've gone from one character that was forced to leave in a House of Cards to one that basically left the planet completely, and
yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Started talking about Tiger Blood.
Yeah. Winning.
This is 2.5 Men. So I actually really enjoyed 2.5 Men because Charlie Sheen basically playing a version of Charlie Sheen that he'd want to be, or you could almost imagine him being in real life, you know. And yeah, they've got a kid that they're trying to be role models, but they're not role models. And then he had his famous, it was basically in the news and media for the best part of 6 months. So you could see him deteriorating in real life and going just balmy.
Batshit crazy, I think the term is.
Yeah. But then they replaced him with Ashton Kutcher. And, you know, to give him his credit, I guess, you know, he had some big shoes to fill. And he did an okay job as it goes, but it just kind of lost the whole, you know, reason d'etre of what the program was.
Because didn't the lads went sort of mad against it all as well in the end, didn't he? The boy when he grew up.
He was so anti the show at the end and basically saying, I hate the show, but I'm only doing it for the money. It's like, well, okay, you could do some good with that money and stop complaining. I don't know. You know, just shut up and take your paycheck and get on with it. But yeah, he wasn't a big fan of the industry after that.
I never watched it that much. It just always struck me as sort of a John Hughes film 40 years later.
And I think that's why I liked it,
They're almost
for me,
like
it's
the
one of those
characters
ones
they
where
wear in those films. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd dip in and watch it now and again, but I wouldn't go out of my way to. But I certainly never watched any of the Ashton Kutcher ones. So yeah, I think you're right there, Paul.
Well, because what was the film where the girl gets arrested in Charlie Sheen's in the prison or in the police station?
Are you on Ferris
Ferris
Bueller's Day
Bueller.
Off?
That is
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It reminded me of that. And then you had old matey from Pretty in Pink, John Cryer, 'cause he was Ducky, wasn't he? One with the hat. That was him, wasn't it?
Damien saying yes in copy.
But it went for a long time, that show. I mean,
Yeah,
they did run that premise to the ground. And
But again, he was getting like $1 million an episode or something.
because even towards the end, I don't think it actually went that far down in the ratings. I don't think people abandoned the show. I think it still remained. Maybe it wasn't as popular as it was because when you haven't got tiger blood on screen, then things are going to go downhill. But
yeah, and the kid with his public outburst as well didn't really help people want to carry on watching it.
I think did he get a bit like religious fanatical and stuff like that? Didn't he get a bit sort of 2.5 men? Men.
Yes, just got to do something like that, but I don't think my throat could take it.
Okay, my one. I'm going to go back in time again a little bit to the Flintstones, the cartoon series. It's not often shown anymore, but you can find online. No, I mean the bits I'm going to talk about.
No, I know you. No, I'm agreeing with. I know because I know exactly where you're going, and you don't see those repeated.
No, the Great Gazoo.
Yeah.
Who in the last season of the Flintstones, again, this is Cousin Oliver syndrome. To spice it up a little bit, they introduced the Great Gazoo, who was an alien from the future, but only Fred and Barney, Pebbles and Bam Bam could see him.
That's right.
And it just kind of, and what fun they had. It just basically, he became the star of the show, and it was the whole thing of where Betty and Wilma would get annoyed. But the Great Gazoo did it, but, other people would get the blame, and they got a whole season out of that. And, yeah, as we say, there's a reason that when it all gets repeated, you never see the Great Gazoo.
Yeah.
But he did exist, and at the moment he's locked in the Warner Vault or whoever owns it, Hanna-Barbera Vault now, probably trying to escape. But hopefully he won't. But I remember that there was a 6 weeks holiday at some point that was ruined by that. The school holidays where it was on in the morning, and it was like, what's this? Where's, you've just put a new character in and basically given him the whole show. But yeah, so that was that one. Anyone, any memories of the Great Gazoo?
Only, I can picture that, but that's about it.
Yeah, same as I can remember it being annoying. But I think the fact that, we only ever saw reruns when we were kids, and those ones weren't really run that much anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little tiny speck on the landscape of the Flintstones. Yeah,
because I'm sure that design, because he had like a big helmet with antennas in, and I'm sure that design was then used for like different. Maybe they coloured him in a slightly different colour or something, and he turned up in other cartoons as like a different character. Because it just looks too familiar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you might have turned out the Jetsons as somebody else under a different name or something like that. Although ironically, it was on Facebook this week. I don't know if anyone saw it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
George Jetson was going to be conceived this week to match his birthday in the future. So good luck, Mr. and Mrs. Jetson. But so that was my next one. Back to you, Mr. Hicks.
Okay, the last one I've got on my list, and again, this might be slightly controversial, especially for UK listeners, and that's Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
that's good because that was on my list, and I was cool. Reluctant to mention it.
No, it'd be interesting to see
if we both... of Damon.
No, it's interesting to see if we both go to the same point. For me, it's the point when they won the lottery.
Yeah.
Because after that, when they came back, however many years later, 6, maybe even 7 years later, it just didn't have the same appeal. And John, when I remember seeing an interview with John Sullivan, he was saying because I think there was a little bit of a kind of backlash, if you like, that we saw it ended in 96, 95, 96
something
with
like that.
them winning the lottery and becoming not winning the lottery. What am I talking about? They never won the lottery. They
sold
the
watch.
clock. Watch. Where did I get winning the lottery from? That's because I was reading about Betty Roseanne earlier today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, they sold the watch and they get the 6.3 million, and everything's happy with the world, etc., etc. And then it comes back and they've lost all their money. And yeah, as I said, so John Sullivan was interviewed and he said, "Well, go on."
I was going to say, bizarrely on that, I remember reading that the way they lost their money actually happened in real life about 6 months later.
That's right. Yeah, it did. Funny enough, which is quite weird.
Whatever the stock market was or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, I can't remember now either. But
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, John Sullivan was saying, well, them being wealthy just isn't funny. If they don't have any struggles, any problems, that's not funny. The whole premise of the show was that they're struggling day by day and chasing a dream, etc.
But I just think
yeah, I just think there could have been different ways they could have brought it back. It went from finishing on a high to then being like proper brought down.
Yeah. See, I would have liked to have seen the series of them being rich and them ballsing it all up, and by the end of the series they're back where they started. I think that could have been more an adventure rather than we kind of got robbed. It's what I call Luke Skywalker syndrome, where you watch the whole thing waiting for it, and yet you still never really saw him at his peak. I mean, you got a little bit in what's it called, The Mandalorian. You saw a little bit of him kicking ass there in the finale, like of what he could be like. But you wait this whole thing, he's trained to be, now he's going to be a Jedi, and you kind of see at the start, and then that was it. They didn't do any more. And it's the same as Fools and Horses. You wait for the whole thing for him to be rich, and then they go, now they're poor again.
Exactly. It opens. We're given a montage basically.
Yeah.
Of them in Monte Carlo, and then there's some sort of stock market crash, and it all comes tumbling down. But yeah, you're right. I think they could have done at least, because it only came back originally for 3 episodes. They could have had 1 episode where they were, living a high life, and then the subsequent 2 episodes dropping down or whatever. But yeah, so there you go. Only Fools and Horses, which again, it's another one. It pains me to put it in there because it had 20 odd years of being the best sitcom ever made.
See, I wasn't sure if you were going to go for Miami Twice.
Yeah, that's a minor blip in an otherwise glorious decade of Only Fools and Horses.
Again, I always said if it was an hour, that would have been a good episode. I think it was like a 2-hour special one. Well, they went for the American movie market, didn't they? They went for I think in America it was like a TV movie, but if you didn't watch
even the production quality, you could tell the difference as well.
Yeah.
Well, they had to. I'm gonna get really geeky now, but they had to.
This is why you're here, see?
Yeah, because of unions and everything, they had to use an entirely American crew to do all the filming out in the States. So there was the only production from the UK that was allowed were obviously the actors, and Gareth Gwenlyn, I think, is the producer. Everyone else had to be stateside union, whatever. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it struggled on that. But yeah, you're right. That is a terrible episode.
It's got some good moments, but I just thought it was because it was like a double, like 2 hours. It was just, if it was an hour, I think it would have kept its punch, but it just dragged out a bit.
Yeah, there's too much of the
and it's just a
madcap.
It's just a doppelganger comedy knockoff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had Only Fools and Horses now. Mr. Hawkins, can you top that?
I don't know if I can top the show. Certainly not in Damien's eyes. But I've got to mention it because I think when Jumping the Shark goes, this is something that was one of the most popular things ever. That became one of the most let down shows for its viewers, and this is Game of Thrones. This had such a huge following. To the point where you'd watch the Game of Thrones episode and then you watch the Throne cast on Sky, where you have a look at the episode that had gone, been on that night, and you'd have celebrities on it, and you'd digest it, then you get a little snippet of the next episode and all that kind of good stuff. But the seventh and eighth season in particular, so I think one of the issues is, and this is one of its own successes, is they started that the series was actually ahead of the books. So George R.R. Martin was doing the screenplays for it as well, but also trying to write the books. So they were cobbling up as it went along, and particularly in the final season, you could tell something wasn't right and it was rushed. And I think that David Benioff and the other guy as well, that they were basically producing the series, they were, I think there were rumors that they wanted to leave so they'd go and work on Star Wars and the Star Wars films, but they never did in the end. So whether they were rushing it or whether it was not investing the time, I don't know. But as I said, I think one of the biggest issues is that the books weren't finalised. So
and they're still not now. How many years ago is that? And he still hasn't written the book.
So I think it finished 4 years ago now, is it?
And he's still writing the last chapters of the book.
Yeah. So
everyone's worried now because he's quite old now, isn't he? And they're like, are we ever going to get the last book?
Well, sorry. Just as Wheel of Time shows us, they always find someone else to come in and finish it, because he died.
Well, he might do a Terry Pratchett, get someone to steamroller all of his hard drives and and everything else, that no one can go back and revisit his notes.
Yeah. But the final couple of episodes and how this series ended, it was a disappointment for most of the viewers, and almost jeopardized anything else to come from it. So even talks of the prequel series, people aren't necessarily.
I liked the ending though. I just felt it was very rushed. I just felt we got like what would have been about a whole season in about four episodes.
Yeah. But
and I love the bit where the dragon takes out the throne, because the dragon knows it was the throne that made her mad, and all that sort of thing. And
but it's a shame, but because there's no real hype or around the prequel that's in development compared to what would have been.
I don't know. I think it's probably just because it's still too far off. I think once they've got some proper footage to stick together, they'll start doing the old teasers and drops on Tinternet, and they'll start doing a hype.
I think it's going to die on its ass. Honestly, I think
it's still a good cast.
He's hoping.
I mean, I like all the people in it. I like Matt Smith and all that, but I just think, like you said, I think it's been too long, and I think people have moved on. If it was ready, like as soon as that finished, like now you've seen that, now see how it began. Bang! Here's the new series. I think people have gone, oh, that was a bit shit at the end, but all the new one's coming out now, and you would have.
I don't know. I think the ending's just left a bit of taste in people's mouths.
I think it's going to be another Jupiter's Legacy, where it kind of comes out, it's all right, and then they just say, well, that's it. They've told the story now.
I'd have been more tempted for a spin-off of Jerome Flynn's character, to be honest.
Ron.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or Arya Stark just going travelling around the world kicking ass.
She's too busy making British independent films.
Exactly. So she had time. But but no, that's fair enough. Okay, I'm gonna take us back to the 1980s now, and I'm gonna go for.
I thought you were waiting for us to do some sort of weird wobble thing.
And I'm gonna. Oh, you can do. But I was gonna talk about a crack commander unit.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna mention the 18.
Yeah.
Season 5 of the 18.
5. Yeah.
What the fuck happened? Well, for those that may be unaware, this was the season where the A-Team were finally captured by the government for crimes they didn't commit. It turned out they didn't commit them, and then they ended up working for the government with Robert Man from Uncle Vaughn as like their boss. And we also introduced Frankie Santana, the sort of Latin-y guy with the ponytail, who, through no fault of his own, was actually kind of done all right. He was like more cheesy one-liners. and kind of a cross between Face and Murdoch, even though we already had them still. And yeah, and they just went on missions for the government. One of the highlights for me was when I've forgotten Robert Vaughan's character's name now, but he has to help out his mate who was the Russian agent who defected in the 1960s, and it's the other dude from Man from U.N.C.L.E. So the A-team have to go and save
even that kind of stinks of stunt casting.
Oh yeah, it's 100% stunt casting and an attempt to sort of do it, but it was. The series then kind of lost its legs and it was cancelled after that, and it went from actually being a hit series. I guess they tried something different, but it didn't work and resulted in the death of a series.
It's one of those where there's only so long you can maintain the original premise. But didn't they even they dropped the
they changed stuff. Oh, yeah, they dropped that and the theme tune.
Well, they rearranged the theme tune, didn't they? It wasn't.
Yeah, it went a bit synth from memory. Season 5, I've got them all. Season 5 doesn't get played a lot.
No, I can imagine it wouldn't. But yeah, they dropped the I can't remember what you call it, intro, but it's not really intro.
Yeah,
they dropped that and synthed up the theme tune, got rid of the guitars and stuff, and that was it. Yeah, I agree.
So I think now when you watch it now on reruns, I think they've switched the music back.
Oh,
I think there was that much of a. I think once it got sold as a package, it kind of the credits got brought back in line again, because it's in syndication. But originally, it had like a synthy tune. But it wasn't rubbish, but it just wasn't the same show anymore, and it just slowly kind of they were cool dudes without the. The A-team were more sort of a Robin Hood on the road, whereas now they became sort of like a government team that, despite, they drove the same van for 5 years and never got spotted. But to be fair, if we're going to get technical, but yeah, just I always like the bit of pulling into town, someone needing to hire the A-team and not realizing that the old Chinese man that they're asking is actually Hannibal in disguise.
Yeah,
and then. Solving it, getting locked in somewhere, building stuff, and then the people, better people because of their help, and sometimes even giving the money back. Not all the time. Everyone seems to think that happened all the time, but most of the time they did take the money.
Yeah, they were soldiers of fortune. So, they needed the money.
Fortune, yeah. And
Corvettes aren't cheap to keep on the road.
That's right. So they smashed and chased around. I think most of it went on their MOTs. Yeah, so Paul, any thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree.
Fair enough. Okay, have you thought of any more, Damien, or you?
No, I mean I mentioned Roseanne there, and I wasn't going to bring it up because I never really watched it. I didn't watch that particular season, but I think it's one of those. If you were to just look up TV shows that jump the shark, Roseanne comes up on pretty much every list. And the basic premises, I think, is that there's a whole season where the Connors have won the lottery, and then at the end of it, it turns out it's not a dream sequence. I think she's just writing some sort of memoir or something.
She showered a Duffy.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's that, is it? I can't remember. I never watched it.
No,
so
I think
no.
Isn't she writing a? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah,
I think she's writing a book about her family, and it turned out that basically, I think they'd done the season, and then John Goodman left. Because he was like, I think they had a row, and he was like, basically, right, I'm off then, because he was doing quite well for himself at that point.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like, and their way around it was like, actually, everything that happened this season is just in a book that she's writing, and then Dan had actually died at the end of the last season. And basically, it was a bit Patrick Duffy, where everything in this season that had just happened was in a book, and then they did the next season without him, and then I think it got cancelled because it was just miserable. Just like.
Yeah, when you've got an ensemble cast like that, and you take out a really big personality of that ensemble cast, it's not going to work.
And I think this was when Roseanne was becoming a megalomaniac as well, allegedly. And this was when everyone was having problems dealing with her. And I think John Goodman had just told her to shove it, and he'd walked off. So I don't think that everyone was necessarily. I think the kids were all right because I think she'd kept an eye on them in their careers growing up a bit. So but the rest of them were sort of like, I don't think anyone wanted to work with her. So I think she may have even had a chat show at that point. They got cancelled as well. Because I think, and then later on, I think they gave her another chat show years later, and then that got cancelled because I can't remember what she said now, but she wasn't
Well, I
the
know.
most politically correct person on social media.
When they rebooted the series,
Oh,
she
that was
then
it. Yeah.
sent out a load of tweets which were I don't know. I don't follow Roseanne's career, believe it or not. But yeah, racist tweets or something or another. So despite apparently that season not actually being that bad because Dan was back in it, and it received relatively pretty decent reviews, she then goes and shoots herself in the foot, and that was it.
Yeah, because then they killed her off then, didn't they? And then made the sitcom about the rest of the family.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it's still on. I think it's the Connors now. So it's like it almost went. That was a jump in the shark that went full circle.
Cool. We managed to fill about 5 minutes there of us talking about a show we've never watched or
Yeah.
well,
I remember at
watch
one point, Roseanne was awesome at one point, and
Yeah,
then
I used to watch it
then it
back in the early
disappeared up
90s.
disappeared up its own arse.
Yeah, I mean they even did the sly sort of nods to camera, if you like, about changing characters, changing actors,
Becky's and all that, yeah.
Becky's and stuff, and did it well and got away with it. But yeah, that whole, I say I haven't watched it, but it just sounds ridiculous that you do a whole season that is basically not happened. Doesn't make any sense. The things like that can be done really well. Because I think they did it in Scrubs, with an episode of Scrubs with Brendan Fraser in, where he's basically spends the whole episode going around the hospital with Brendan Fraser talking about stuff, and then it turns out that Brendan Fraser's character died at some point in the.
Oh, that rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah,
because he did a couple of episodes. I think he was the cancer guy, wasn't he? Or something?
Yeah, that's right. And that, I remember watching that, so I don't remember much about it now, but I do remember watching that, and I think that was really well done. It was basically, I've forgotten the guy's name. What's the
Zach Braff
name? Yeah, it was basically him coming to terms with Brendan Fraser's character's death, but that was really well done, and that's not a corny jump in the shark moment. It was because that revelation is type moment rather than this whole Roseanne thing. Just sounds like a bunch of arse gravy and shouldn't.
Well, it was just a knee jerk. It was just a knee jerk reaction to her being like, because he left, and she was just kind of like, well, yeah, you're dead then. You're not coming back. You're not going to queue up. And that was her trying to be spiteful and, make sure, well, actually everything that just happened hasn't happened now. I was writing a book and your character died then. So, and it was just kind of, and then they forgot he died and brought him back. And when it came back and wrote off, maybe that season was a dream as well.
Give it another 10 years and they'll all be back.
But that's what happens when you give someone total creative control and they're an egomaniac. That's why this works. Right. Paul, what you got?
So let me take you to a lovely channel called BBC Two. Now, invariably, I'd be in the bath watching telly before having to get ready for some guys knocking on the door for us to go out.
It's an image.
Or, maybe it was on before Babylon 5 would be on as well. Everyone knows the theme tune.
Is it Minder?
Written and produced by maybe Quincy Jones.
I think I know where you're going to say it jumped the shark, but you carry on.
Okay, so
I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to steal your thunder.
So
I just remade it as well.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So this was something, as I said, I think most people, actually probably younger than me, but BBC Two was one of their biggest shows. I'm saying that, or is it Channel 4? No, it was BBC Two. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, definitely BBC Two.
Yeah, that's right then. Probably one of the biggest shows out at the time. Propelled Will Smith into stardom onto the big screen, and with his rest of his career, he became producer of the show and all that kind of good stuff. And it was known for his witty banter. How he deals being a person from West Philadelphia living in Bel Air. And all the traits and niceties where you can't really fit in, and all the comedy value with Carlton doing his silly little dances that even to this day is probably one of the most famous dances, and famous memes going out there for every time there's a celebration that someone wants to get a meme of. And it was known for its hijinks and its comedy. And then they tried to do a really deep, dark, a deep episode. And I think we'll get held up with some guys with a gun. Carlton ends up buying a gun, and it's trying to do like a deep, almost Degrassi Junior High episode.
Was that the one? Was that the one that's just because it was the girl who took over as Yellow Power Ranger? She got killed in a drive-by on Fresh Prince. Was that the same episode?
Yeah, I think so. But
you don't see the drive-by. You just see her up, and then the next day at school they say that she's dead and was killed in a drive-by. Because we can't show it too much.
So Will
sounds
Smith,
familiar. Yeah.
So Will Smith's at an ATM and gets shot at. And as I said, Carlton goes off and buys a gun to protect himself, and probably Will as well. But it that just took it, and it didn't really come back from that. And that was one of many. But even been running for many series, and it just felt like they were running out of ideas. They'd kind of done everything. Then they decided to go with this more deep episode. And the rest of the storylines just couldn't come back from it. And the rest of the episodes were just shoddy.
Yeah, it was one of those shows that
you were going to go.
I feel went too long.
Yeah.
I think when you watch it back, it is not dated well, but other people will argue and say that it has. But
and we've spoken about it before. Many comedy shows have that or they delve into some deeper, darker storylines as well, and manage to come back for it, or even deeper. We spoke about Only Fools and Horses. That they weren't all laugh out loud. Some of them were poignant episodes, but this just seems so out of place.
Yeah, I think because it's so out of tone, because they've never done anything like that before. Whereas Only Fools and a lot of British sitcoms have always done that. Pathos and all that sort of stuff. Whereas most American sitcoms don't. They go at a level and they just maintain that level of silliness or shenanigans, whatever. And I'm not saying all American sitcoms are silly, but they don't. Certainly back then, anyway, they certainly didn't do dark humor in sitcoms, and certainly not in something like Fresh Prince, which would have been aimed at probably 16 to 24-year-olds, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, it spins back round to me then for our final one tonight of the Jump the Sharks. I present to you Once Upon a Time, originally a groundbreaking television series based on classic fairy tales with a huge twist, where everyone lived in a town called Storybrooke, and they didn't realize that they were all fairy tale characters. They had names based on like something to do with the character they were, but it was a bit of you kind of had to work out. Like I remember there being a Dr. Whale, and he ended up being Victor Frankenstein. And the connection was that James Whale directed the Frankenstein movie or whatever. So there's all clues in the names that you had to sort of Easter egg hunt for, and all the people but they didn't remember being, because of a curse put on them by the Wicked Witch, they didn't remember being fairy tale characters, so you had to try and work out who they were, and it was quite a clever. Sebastian Stan, before he was the Winter Soldier, was the Mad Hatter. There's all sorts of different people in it, and it was really, because the first couple of series were very clever and very well done, and then and there's a big plot line and everything. I don't want to give too much away, but it was really good. And it was just, have you ever seen it at all?
No, I started watching the first season a while ago. And for no reason, it wasn't bad. I just never.
It gets some more. It takes a little while for it to sort of find its feet. And sort of about halfway through season one, it hits its ground. It went through season two, and then by sort of season three, it kind of ran out of ideas, and it tried to reset. And then by like season 4 or 5, you could tell that because it was on, I can't remember whatever network it was on in America, but it had a Disney bloodline, and then suddenly like like Elsa and Anna turn up from Frozen in one of them and do the song, and it just became like whatever next, and then like whatever Disney thing was coming in. Even what's his face turned up in it. And they kind of ducked the you lost the premise of it being the fairy tale people in like a real life everyday town and not remembering who they were and everything. It just, I'd given up by them, and it just, once the original concept worked, and even when they got their memories back and they were trying to protect themselves from the rest of the world, that was like a good concept. But then it just went down and down and just became like, what else can we put in here? What else can we put in here? And then once Frozen hit, they chucked that in as a knee-jerk reaction, and any long-term storylines and threads kind of disappeared. And then they tried to reset it a couple of times, and in the end, I think by about season 5, most of the main cast just didn't renew for the next season because they were like, no, it's shit now. And then they just brought even more Disney characters in, and it just became like a live-action Disney shit. A good show that got swallowed up by its own concept and manipulated by the studios around it. And I don't think it jumped the shark. It recast the shark about 6 times and just sort of, and then shit down its throat. Well, I present to you Once Upon a Time.
Yep, sounds awful, to be fair, and I'm kind of pleased I never kept stuck with it.
Yeah, so that's that really. So that brings us to an end of our Jump the Shark special. There are many shows we haven't touched upon, so stay tuned for a Jump the Shark 2, Jumping the Shark Further. And that'll be in our near future. What shows did we miss? What shows do you think jumped the shark? Let us know at cultfactionpodcast@mail.com. As always,
tweet us,
Facebook us, Instagram us, TikTok us. Let us know what you think, and most importantly, please rate and review us on your podcast apps, and let people know and tell them about us and share us, because it means a lot to us. You can keep up with all our latest news at cultfaction.com and all our various social medias. And until then, we will see you again next week. I've been Brett Summers.
I've been Damien Hicks.
And I've been Paul Hawkins, mostly.
And we've been trying to entertain you through a long-distance online coughing fit of a call. We'll see you next time.
Superman.
Here's a story of a man named Brady in West Philadelphia, born and raised in the playground where I spent most of my days. He should have stayed there. What was that? Did everyone else hear that?
Fucking start on. There we go.
It's you. Oh. Tell me when you're ready.
Well, stop fucking moaning then.
Wow.
Jump in the shark. Jump in the shark. Jump in the shark. Jump in the shark.
3 blokes who want to be fuck. So what am I doing here?